All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Triple E. Where are we today? 135 Renewable Energy System. So, this is your professor, instructor, Dr. Tracy Toops. First off, I'm going to wait like 10 or 15 minutes for I actually start, or probably more, until I actually start to explain the course because we're going to have people coming in late. We're going to have a whole group of people who don't know how to log into the Sac State Zoom. So I'm probably going to get like 5 emails of saying, how do I join how do I join this Zoom session in the next 3 minutes? So with that being said, let's wait a little bit while they all filter in. In the time being, we're going to go through and we're going to talk a little bit about the power industry. Try and get you guys set up. You all want jobs, you all want to make money, all that good stuff. All right, let's get chat open just in case. Howdy, gang, what's up? All right, some of you guys are new here. Some of you guys probably had me in the 117 or so on, one way or another. Welcome. A little bit, real quick about myself. Name is Dr. Tracy Toops. I teach a lot of power engineering courses. I'm in the power engineering field. I'm a senior engineer in Charlotte Irrigation District, so I know a decent amount about the power industry. My goal here is to help you make sure you transition into the power industry as seamlessly as possible and have a nice, good career in this field and be successful in life and career and everything in between. So, number one, I'm going to assume most people taking this course are going to be in the power industry. There might be a few outliers that want to be outside it because it is renewable energy. It does stretch between different industries, but probably 80% of us here are going to be power engineers. So I'm going to focus this um, guide on power engineering. So number one, with power engineering field, you have noticed by now, it's we are in charge of bulk electric energy production. So we have to have large generators producing hundreds of megawatts of energy, thousands of megawatts of energy in California. Then we have to transport it through the transmission grid to the customer, which could be large industries, refineries, all the way up to your personal house and your meter outside your house. Okay. So there's a whole sorts of generation to transmission grid, from transmission down to distribution grid to your house. So power and engineering or power industry is all that. You also have a group of power engineers that work outside utilities, specifically like a refinery. Large refineries, you're kind of like your own little city in terms of power grid. You'll have your own bus and your own motor controls and all that. So you can make an entire power engineering career just being on the industrial side of the power industry, where you're just doing medium voltage, low voltage motor controllers. There's a very specific bus design for industrial application, which is a lot different from, let's say, transmission grid. Okay. Um, so you can work anywhere within that field. The workforce, you've probably heard it 5 times now, it's the aging workforce. Average age of electrical engineer is probably like 50, 55. So very top heavy in the next 10 years. A lot of engineers are going to be gone. And then we're going to have a new group of people coming in. And I'll be honest, we have a lot of people that are very high up that are like super seniors that are going to retire next 10 years. We have a middle group. I'm 40, so I'm like mid-career. I'm in the middle group. My group is actually the least of all. We barely have any senior principal engineers that are supposed to carry the torch. They're all older and they're going to retire next 10 years. So it's very high demand of people with 20 years of experience to fill in the new leadership gaps. That's actually why I bridged into being in the industry, because so many people ask me, you have to join because we don't have enough engineers. And obviously when demand comes, money comes with it. So you make a lot of money because you're so in demand. Right. So kind of dip my toes in both the professor teaching side and the industry side. And then you have the young engineers, and you guys are young engineers. You're coming in, you're new. There is a renewed effort of people joining. Power engineering is finally becoming popular enough. The group's growing, so we're getting more engineers coming in. Right? There's still a crap ton of openings, so it's not like we're fighting each other for jobs just yet. But to note that it's increasing, which is a good thing for the industry. Right? So all in all, it's still in demand. It's going to be in demand probably for your entire lifetime because we're always going to have more work. The power grid, it needs to be completely revamped. We have an extremely high amount of demand growth, and that's in part thanks to other industries. So the tech industry is booming, Bitcoin mining, AI farms, server farms, all this is huge. We got 100 megawatt data centers coming online. Every single one of those needs new transmission lines, new substations, generation. Entire infrastructure grid has to change because we have such a high demand in the next 20 years for power. And it's probably not going to change. I think in our lifetime, in your lifetime, we're always going to have work to do. There's always going to be something to do, and it's going to be never ending cycle. So what it means is you're always going to have a job. Okay. So that's why people like power engineering. Looking at this document, want to talk about the levels of the ranks of engineers in the power industry. They might have different names like power engineer A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. But at the end of the day, there's typically 4 major tiers. The first one is assistant engineer. This is literally entry level. This is most likely where you're going to jump in to the power industry. You're going to be hired here, and we don't expect you to know anything past just college level material. And we just assume you knew, and we're going to teach you everything. Okay, so assistant engineer, you come in with a good mindset, know some basics. We'll teach you everything else you need to know. But responsibility-wise, we don't expect you to carry on a lot of responsibilities. We don't trust you with doing anything on your own because you don't know anything. So there's a lot of hand-holding. You're getting a lot of attention from senior engineers, and we're just going to kind of mentor you through. About 3 to 5 years into your job as assistant engineer, you're going to get, usually within 3 years, you're going to get really good at one thing. Like your main job, we're going to focus on, you can get pretty good at it. You don't really know the big picture stuff yet, but you got really good at a few things. This is where we could promote you to associate engineer, where as a manager, I could let you do a few things on your own because I trust you, but you still need to learn other things to become well-rounded. And then you got a good 5 years of that. Once you get to about 7 to 10 years of experience, you should pretty much master electrical engineering by then. So let's say you're 10 years in, you should know your power grid inside out. Whatever your job is, you should be proficient at. And at senior engineering level, this is where we'll promote you. But your job duties are now, you should be an autonomous, a self-sufficient unit, meaning as a manager, I should not have to teach you and mentor you every week. You know your job inside out. You know how to do it, and you could do it proficiently by yourself. You will also lead a team of engineers younger than you, so you're going to be the mentor now. And you're going to, as a senior engineer, you're the backbone of the team. Everybody can rely on you. When something goes wrong, you have to find the solution to fix it. You're going to lead the new assistant and associate engineers through. Okay, so those are the 3 major groups. Most people end their career as a senior engineers when they retire, but there were a few really good individuals who stand out. They can go a net level further, and that's called a principal engineer. Principal engineer is a senior engineer that's exceptional at his job, and as for example, a principal engineer in a company, there's typically a few, not a lot. There's a lot of senior engineers for a whole company, but maybe only like 10% of senior engineers make it to principal engineers. You're expected to know everything. You're the subject matter expert. You're supposed to answer all the questions that nobody else can answer. If you don't know the answer, you're expected to go find it out on your own, right? So you're literally like the guru god of the technical side, and it falls upon you to find everything out. Okay, it could be really rewarding because they're going to think they're going to say, "Oh, you're a genius. You know everything. You're going to be very well respected," right? But to be there, you have to know everything. You can't just say I'm awesome. You have to be awesome at the same time. And so honestly, I'll be honest. Some people never get there because they get burnt out in life. They get too tired. They just don't know enough. They don't try hard enough. So not everybody could be a principal engineer, but everybody could be a senior engineer. If you don't want to do the technical route, it's too much of a headache, or you just don't feel like putting all the effort into learning everything, you can then opt to be a department manager. So you're going to managerial route where you're going to be doing less engineering design. You can be more people person. You're going to have to say, oh, well, Brenda and Brad don't get along today. I have to be the babysitter to figure out what's going on. Why aren't they working together? Or maybe Josh is not performing too well at work because Josh is playing too much Helldivers trying to spread democracy across the galaxy and his work sucks. So you have to somehow convince Josh to stop killing all the aliens and work better so he doesn't get fired. See, that's the type of people person experience that you're going to have to deal with. And it's a lot of headache because you can't control people. You could control engineering design. You could tell, you could change design. You can't change people. Sometimes you have to fire people because they're being buttholes or they just suck at their job. And you're going to look like the evil boogeyman because you're screwing somebody's life over. But maybe they should just there's some level in the middle you have to deal with. And it gets very stressful and headache. It's a lot of headaches. But we need managers, and if some people are naturally charismatic and good managers, some people suck as managers. You'll figure out if you're going to be good managerial material at the end of the day. But I will say there are more managers than principal engineers by a long shot. We need every company needs managers, and all you have to do to be a manager is you just have to be liked by your current manager. So if you want to be a manager, as long as the manager you are at your senior engineers, you want to be a manager as long as your manager at senior engineering level likes you, and then the manager above that likes you. If they both like you, you're almost guaranteed a spot, right? So that's kind of the political play you have to do to make sure you're in like Flynn whenever the manager position comes up. Or you could just apply to another position and just beat everybody out in terms of the interview, but that's obviously harder. Okay, so at the end of the day, associate, assistant, associate, senior, and then you branch off. Technical, principal, manager, department manager. Salary-wise, again, power industry in California, assistant engineers should make somewhere between 90K starting to about 130K once you get to like 3 or 4 year experience level. Okay, associate engineers, that that mid-level, you should at least be making 120K. You're closer to 150. Senior engineers talking about 140 to 200K. Typically, you max out 200K. Haven't really met many seniors making too much more than that. And then if you really want to go higher up, you go to that principal engineer that could make upwards of 250K. Department managers also make 250K because the principal engineer and department manager are kind of equal in career path. But if you want to get above department manager, you could go up to director level. And then general manager, CEO. Directors make about 350 on average, 400. General manager could make anywhere between 500K to like 1 million or several millions if you get like a really big utility like PG&E. Okay. Most companies, utilities are structured in this form of fashion where you got your rank and file engineers, basically senior, all level assistant to principal engineers are on a team together. And that team is then managed by a manager, and that is a department. So a department is part of the company that is responsible for one task or one group, one area of the company, and the department needs to make sure that operates flawlessly. That your role as department managers, your team is doing the duties of your department. You could take several departments and put it under an administration where it's a group of managers that all do one thing for one part of the company. For example, the main utility, you might have an electrical engineering administration. You might have an operations administration. You might have a market and finance division, and you might have like an HR administration division, right? So every company has like 4 or 5 pieces, and administration is one of each to make the whole company. Okay, you'll have a director managing managers for each of that, and then all those different administrations come over under one giant umbrella called the company, right? The whole company, and that's typically led by one person, either general manager or the CEO, and that's all utilities are there. You're going to start down here, and maybe if you go to manager right, you might creep up here. Okay. Some of you guys are actually graduating this semester, so this is actually very relevant for you. I would try my hardest to get as many job applications out there. I'm telling you, don't just put like 5 or 6, put like 50 across all of the United States. You want to try to get a job that has a high starting salary. And I personally would never take anything under 90K. If you get like 85, maybe. And if you're absolutely desperate, like it's your only job, 80, but anything 7 and below, just throw it in the trash, in my opinion. It's not worth your time. Okay. just to give you an idea for everybody here who's graduating this semester. So I'm not, you don't think I'm a lying piece of crap, is let's go find a job for you. I know Modesto Irrigation District is hiring. So Modesto Irrigation District is my neighboring utility, right? Let's see what their career is right there. I don't want to look at their website. I just go careers right here. Okay. Yeah, see, they have electrical engineering for power operations. So assistant, associate, senior, it's all rankings. So if you apply for this, which you can right now, if you're going to graduate this, if you're graduating this fall, apply for this right now. Okay. Is the absolute minimum salary you'll get paid with 0 years of experience is $117K a year. So that's actually pretty high up on the assistant level engineering track. Okay. And it could go all the way up to 182, which is your senior engineer. And there's obviously gradients in between. Okay. So just give me an idea, right? You ask, why is it so high compared to like SMUD? It's because apparently Modesto is a bad place, a bad place to, or not ideal, luxurious place to live at. So we have to pay more money to get people to move to Modesto. Same thing for Turlock. Turlock starting salary is 120K where I'm at because no one wants to move to Turlock. Okay. I'm sorry if anybody grew up in Central Valley. I did not mean to insult you. Okay. I personally have no issues with the Central Valley. Granted, I'm from out of state, so all of California is the same to me. It's just a matter of how big the cities are, right? I grew up there, sad face. I'm telling you, it's so hard to convince anybody who grew up in Central Valley to return to the Central Valley to work here because everybody wants to leave the Central Valley, right? So, I mean, like I said, I didn't grow up here. I don't know how bad it was growing up, but I'm sure you guys have crazy stories. Yeah. So anyway, that's why the salary is high. So you want to stay in Sacramento, SMUD will probably pay $90,000. Okay. Anyway, this is one example. There's a bunch of other career opportunities. You could literally go to governmentjobs.com. I'm sure you could just go and literally find electrical engineering, just literally type electrical engineering, all of California. You could, there's easy ways to figure it out. I'll show you another time. That's not the first day. I'll show you how to find a job. Okay. Just to show you one example. So that's all we have for that. Everybody's clowning Modesto, I see. All right, if you know what, why don't you go to Redding, right? There's jobs there, right? Redding's not the Central Valley. Is that so much better? I heard no, but anyway, what's the pros and cons for power industry? It's probably not as relevant because you probably already want to be power industry. But just for you to know, utilities, especially public utilities, are very stable jobs. You never have to worry about getting laid off, because utilities don't downsize, right? And their budgets are fixed because it's ratepayers and any government subsidies. There is no stocks to keep track of and PG&E stock crash, none of that crap. So once you get a government job in a public utility, you pretty much have it for the rest of your life, unless you do something really stupid, like murder somebody at work, right? As when I say it's really hard to get fired, like when you start doing something wrong, like for example, you do something stupid and you do like a wrong design. The manager will say, this is wrong, you should do it better. Okay, that's strike one. You do it again a couple months later. The manager come up to say, hey, we talked about this before. You did it wrong, do it this way, it's better, but get good. Strike two. Then you mess up a third time. He's like, okay, fine. You're not listening. So we're going to write you a formal letter that says you need to improve, blah, 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 blah. 3. And then you F up again. And then this time, the fourth time, they put you on a formal PIP, a PIP, performance improvement plan that says, if you don't do this by this date, you're going to, they're putting a stake in the ground that says you have to perform by this time, this level at this time, right? That way they could quantify that you're not good at your job on paper. And then you mess up again, they'll probably give you a fifth time and it says, okay, dude, this is it. This is your last warning. You do this again, you're going to be straight up fired. Okay. And we're going to watch you like a hawk for 1 year. You can go back on your probationary period for 1 year. We're going to watch you to make sure you don't make a single mistake. And after a year, we'll trust you again. You'll go back. So you have 5 strikes before you get fired at a public utility. That's insane, right? You work for like Intel, you might show up and you ain't got a job. You get 0 strikes. Or you mess up once, and then they'll say, well, you cost Intel $3 million on your mistake. You're just gone. Just go away, right? So would MEM or ME be better for management path in the utility sectors? I don't know what MEM is. Engineer management. Honestly, I'll tell you this right now. No masters of anything is going to help you really in the management path. You know what helps you more than anything else in management path is you need to get your PE license. Okay, so don't play Pokemon, collect them all with master's degrees. It's my opinion, not going to help. And I have a master's degrees. I guarantee you, don't help me. I got a PhD, it don't help. Okay, a bachelor's degree is all you need. And if you really want to become a manager as fast as possible, get your bachelor's degree, then get your PE license, impress your boss, do what your manager wants you to do. Ask him, hey, can I shadow you? Ask him to get you higher up in the management in position at any degrees or whatever. If anything, there's actually a management certificate you could get while you're working. That's probably worth more than like a master's in engineering management, right? I'm telling you, all these masters and whatever, I hate to say it because I'm in academia, I'm shooting myself in the foot. They all kind of, they don't really give you anything, right? A master of science is good because that's a real degree that gets you into the research sector. But if you want to be a manager, then all these engineering management things, that's all just a waste of time and money, if you ask me. Yeah, master's degrees are good if you want to go into R&D research side. But if you just want to be a rank and file engineer, utilities, building substations, and have an easy life, then don't get a master's degree. It's a waste of time and money. Okay, so pros and cons: stable job, you never worry about layoffs. And the reason why we don't need masters and PhDs as much is because designs are templated and standardized. So the power industry is already figured out. We already have the main transmission grid, the distribution grid, all the generation. This technology is at that 95, 98% efficiency already. We don't need more innovation there. We're already happy where we're at. We don't need a bunch of research to make the next best thing, right? So we're going to keep the same type of power grid we've always had for a very long time, right? We don't need innovation. What we need is we template it, we standardize it, so anytime we build something, it's going to be the same thing we did before. It's going to be a repeat process. Why? Because it works. It's guaranteed. The utility is critical infrastructure. We cannot experiment with a new transmission line or a new substation, and when it breaks, we lose 100,000 customers. We cannot do that. So with that being said, the power field is very traditional. It's very hard to move. It sticks with the old because it's reliable. With that being said, when I build a new substation or I build into a transmission line, it's going to be a template of an existing setup. There's a federal template and a standard we use, and you're going to literally copy and paste that design into your system. Now, there is so 90% of the design is already with a copy and paste factor. There's an extra 10% of modifying design slightly just so it fits into your system. Okay. Okay. Right. So, when you put a substation down, the lines coming in, they're all a little different. The ground's a little different. There's always a small little changes to your design, but it's not like you're reinventing the wheel. So 9% of the copy and paste is done. You just put in that 10% extra like design work to make it fit. Okay. So, I mean, and in my opinion, that's a good thing because it's hard to mess this up drastically. I mean, you can't mess it up, but I would feel a lot safer copying an existing proven design rather than saying, go make something new. It's never been tested, but when it fails, your job is on the line, right? See, that's not fair, in my opinion. So very template design. It lets you sleep better at night, knowing that everything is already on guardrails, and it's, you always have people checking your work. And as long as you go to work and you do what the design and the template and the standard says, you make sure you don't have any calculation errors, it's automatically going to work. There's no like, how can I, it's like that terror feeling that I submitted and I don't know if it works, I might fail today. That's not here. Okay, it's going to work. Lastly, is a 40-hour work week, and pensions are typically available for public utilities. So 40-hour work week means you're typically not going to be given overtime. Number one, because we pay you for overtime, and there's not usually a lot of work that needs overtime if you're budgeting your time correctly. Okay, this is very opposite to something like in the tech field where we have to get the new phone out by Christmas, so everybody's working 60 to 80 hours a week for a month just to get the project out. That doesn't happen in the utility business. It's a much more relaxed, stable work week. Pensions. So pensions are retirement plans where if you work for a utility and you work there for 40 years, they guarantee you that you're going to get that same salary after you retire to the day you die. So it's a guaranteed salary in your retirement. So the typical way it works is for every year you work, you get like 2.5% of your salary on average. So if you work 30 years, you take 30 multiplied by 2.5, which is 75%. So you'll get 75% of your salary for the rest of your life after you retire at 65. Okay, so yeah, and every utility, every pension is slightly different, but on average, if you work 40 years of your life at the same company, you should get your full or almost your full pension from 65 to the day you die. Okay. Somebody says 4 years question mark. Yes, most people still want to work for 40 years is still the standard career. 40 years is the standard length of your career, right? What are the cons for power industry? Salaries are average. Those numbers look kind of big because of inflation, but just remember the tech industry, you take all those numbers and multiply by 150%. So like tech industry, general managers and CEOs are making $5 million, directors are making millions, department managers are making $600K to $500K, principal engineers are probably making 400 to 500 with stock options, and it all kind of peters down. I guarantee if you move to Silicon Valley as a starting engineer, you're probably getting paid 160, 170 as a software engineer. So I'll be honest, the salary is kind of dead average in terms of all electrical engineering, and it's slow to change, right? It's not like because we don't have innovation, we're not going to be the new AI boom, right? Think of anybody working at Intel, right? If you got hired at Intel 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, you're a millionaire now because the stock options they give, right? That's never going to happen in the power industry. I'm sorry, it's not. You go work for SMUD, and like they're going to magically make innovation and give everybody $1 million in stock options, right? It's just the stability of your job or the price you pay for job stability is average salary and stagnant or slow growth in that salary. So, do you want to have a guaranteed life where you just get an average salary, you're driving really, nice Toyotas, nice trucks, you have a decent house in the suburbs? Or do you want to play high stakes and go work in the tech industry where 1 year you're buying a Ferrari and a half in a $2 million mansion, and then you get fired and all that gets repoed and you're on the streets the next 2 years? I mean, some people like the up and down lifestyle. Some people like the flat average. That's up to you to decide. Okay. I like the flat average one. That's why I'm in the power industry. I'll be honest with you, and this is big contention. Working from home, don't expect that in the power industry. Just don't. Right? For a brief while, because of COVID, we had, but it's very common that most utilities, especially public, you're gonna return to office. They're in that transition. It used to be 100% work from home. Now they're like 2 days work from home. They're going to go to 1 day, and I have a good feeling in 5 or 7 years we're going to be all back in office. So they still have work from home, but it's not 100%. It's never going to be 100%. You might get like 60% in office, 40% in home, but it's going to be rare. I would not expect it, especially as a young engineer. Okay, so you maybe as a senior engineer, you might get a benefit of this if you can prove yourself to be reliable, but don't go in an interview and saying, I want to work from home at the get-go. Just don't. And expect to go traditional office work, drive to work, 8 to 5, butts in the chair. You're listening to your mentor. That's just the industry. Okay. I guarantee you, if you come to an interview in a power engineering group, and say, I want to work from home when I start, they're going to laugh at you. Okay. Lastly, the industry in overall is boring and unexciting, meaning we don't have we don't have fancy innovation quick. We're not going to have a tech boom. We kind of have renewable energy boom, but that's subsidized by the government, but it's still slow to really integrate. Yes, this is a renewable energy course. That is probably the most exciting part of industry is this, but it's going to be 30 years before or 20 years before it really gets a lot of traction. Okay. So it's not the boom and bust cycle of like the tech world and electric vehicles and all that stuff. Lastly, I'll be honest, and no one can be impressed that you work for utility. You go try to impress people like, oh, I work for SMUD or PG&E. You know what the first thing they're going to say? They're going to say, why is my bill so high? Right? That's the first thing they always complain of when I say I work at utilities. Make my bill lower. You need to get paid less so my bill's lower. That's exactly what they say. Or they say, my power went out last night. Why do you hate me? Stop being an asshole and put my power back on. I'm like, I can't. Don't blame me because your power went out. Blame the drunk idiot in the truck that drove and knocked your power line down. We can help you get the power back up. It's not my fault the power went out. At least not all the time. There might be chances my fault because I effed up the design, but that's rare. Okay. Get wrecked power engineers, just exactly. So I don't know about you. I wouldn't go around bragging I work for SMUD and PG&E. It's more, you're probably gonna get more harm than good. Right? So now professors get on sign to fix the tower. Yeah, no, I ain't climbing the tower to fix. You know, the people climb the tower makes more money than engineers, right? Linemen make like, if you work overtime lineman, you can make $350,000 to $400,000. At my company, TID, we have linemen that make more than CEO because they work overtime so much. It's crazy. So if you want to make a crap ton of money really fast, you chose wrong being an engineer. You should have been a lineman. But the downside is by the time you're 35, your disc in your back are probably going to be hemorrhaging and you're not going to be able to walk past. Like when you're 50, you're going to have to be walking in a cane. So that's the only downside to it. But it's fast money, quick. Okay. Keep moving forward. So 4 steps to getting a job. I mean, you're kind of locked into some of these, but number one, try to keep a 3-point GPA. I know it's kind of like later in your career, it's harder to maintain GPA. Wherever you can, try to keep it up to a minimum 3.0. The reason why is when we look at applications, 3.0 is like the minimum to automatically pass most filters. Below that, we start questioning things. You have to explain why you have a bad GPA. You have to start making up excuses. Obviously, anything above 3.0 is better, but I'd say that's a good medium 3.0. Number 2, you should get an internship. Hopefully you have an internship or you've gotten one. If you're graduating this semester, obviously you don't have a chance to get internships anymore. So you got to go with what hand is dealt. If you're a junior now and you have a summer left, you definitely try your absolute hardest to get an internship, either short over the winter break or realistically over next summer before you graduate. So whatever you do, it's really important to get an internship. The reasoning why is in step in 3, where you guys are right now. You got to finish your bachelor's degree. Right? You can't get into a power engineering job without BSAE. It's a hard requirement. And then lastly, you do that, then you get a job. Now, here's a trick. If you internship somewhere and they like you and you like them, just say, I want to work here, and they'll almost automatically hire you. You probably won't have to do an interview. They'll just say, just come on board. Okay. And then you get a free job. So any advice for someone graduating next semester? You mean May? I mean, oh, if anything, you need to work in your FE exam right now. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. So this is like this is mainly for people in EEE 117 because they could still have time to do this. You know, obviously you're kind of a little locked in some of these, but this is a perfect ideal solution. When you're missing one of these, then it's going to be harder. At this point, if you don't have an internship and no one knows your industry, you're just like rolling the dice by just cold interviewing with everybody. And at that point, as me being part of the group that hires electrical engineers, if I don't know you, you're just some random person coming in, and you can beat other people, but you have to either be better than all the other random people, right? Or you got to be nicer than the person I know. So sometimes you go apply And if you apply to my position, I might already have an intern that I already know and I like, and then it's already a done deal. It's just a formality. I'm putting a net out because maybe I might find somebody exceptional. So if you're twice as good as my intern, I'll probably throw an intern away and hire you. But if you're only 10% better than an intern that I already know and like, I'm taking the intern over you any day of the week because that's a guaranteed. I know this person. You're just some random dude on the internet that I could be an asshole for all I know, right? You probably aren't, but as a manager, that's the way I have to think. So I would always go for somebody I know versus some random stranger, unless there's a huge power spike between them. Okay, that's just real life. This is why people say networking and knowing people is more important than anything else in the world, right? This is where you see countless times on the internet people are screaming, "Oh well, why is Jordan Jordan is an asshole at work because he's getting more promotions than I am, and he doesn't do half the work I do, and I'm twice as smart as he is. Why is he getting all the jobs and I'm sitting there slaving away? This isn't fair." I'll tell you why Jordan's beating you. Because Jordan is nice to his manager, and Jordan likes his manager, and Jordan doesn't sit there and complain all the time. He might not be as smart as you, he might not work as hard as you, but he's a nicer person. People like nice guys and people. I mean, that's honest truth. And this is after you're hired. This is like the first 1 and 2. Number one, don't be a cocky asshole. Don't start your work and just start demanding things and acting like a butthole because no one's going to like you. Right? Come in humble. Don't complain. Learn from your mentor. Every company has their own culture. You cannot go in and say, I want to change the culture because you guys are stupid. I'm right. That's the fastest way to get kicked out. I'm telling you, I have a great story that we had one guy at my old engineering firm in Louisiana. We had one guy that got fired within 6 hours of working. It's crazy. He came in. Now, this is Louisiana. We're very conservative, okay? Just remember that. He comes in and then he starts, okay, hello, this is so and so on. Here's, let's go around, talk to everybody and all the engineers, and we'll get you in your cubicle, get you set up. So first thing he wants to do, he starts talking about politics. And he's like, oh, Obama's the best thing that happens since sliced bread. And of course, we're all conservative. So we're just looking at him like, what the hell? Okay. And then after he makes this nice remarks to everybody, and he wants to legalize pot in Louisiana, which is, again, another thing you don't want to really, you're rubbing the wrong people the wrong way. Then he gets to sit in his cubicle and says, okay, enough talking. Let's get you working so you don't cause more trouble. We sit in front of the computer. Here's your mouse and keyboard. Log in. And we'll, once you get everything set, we'll come back. 10 minutes go by, and the guy goes up to us, and he's like, "Look, man, I can't. The keyboard doesn't work. It's clacky. It doesn't feel good. It's not ergonomic. My mouse sucks. Can we get an upgrade to this?" Like, fine, sure. So we go to IT. We get him a new keyboard, and you get a new mouse. And he starts complaining that the chair doesn't fit right, so we get him a new chair. And then we come back, and then like he says, "Oh well, my cubicle is in front of it." I'm not making this up. The AC is blowing on his cubicle, and right on his cubicle is too cold. Can he like get in your cubicle? Like, bro, no. I mean, like, we know we can't change the cubicle. Go get a jacket, right? I'm telling you, man, I can't believe this dude did this. I wish I was making this up as a Reddit story, but I'm not. Okay. And then we went to lunch with him, and he started arguing with the owner about politics again because he is the type of person that wants to always talk about how Obama's great and preach to everybody that this president's awesome. Before he set foot back into the office after lunch, my manager went to him and says, "Just don't come back. Just go home." So he didn't last past lunch, and we never saw him ever again. I know. I think it was a world record. All right, I tell a story every couple of years because I can't believe somebody got fired in under 6 hours. But so don't be that guy. It's very hard. I mean, I don't know. To me, it sounds very easy not to be that guy, but some people can't. They can't help it, and they don't last. Okay. So please use that as a story of not what not to do. As long as if you just come in and don't talk about politics, keep your mouth shut, just be agreeable with everybody, listen to them and their stories. Don't just go in and say, I always have to tell my stories and cut everybody off. Let them tell their stories. Learn from them, right? And then later, once they know you and you all like each other, then you can start talking about your stories. Then you can start arguing with them. Okay? I don't know. Some people it's impossible to do, but just please do that. Okay. We had another story. No, we don't have time for this. I'll tell you another day. Okay. So number two, don't be lazy and min-max the system on your first year probation. So typically when you go to work, you're on probation because we don't know you. And the probation period is basically 1 year, 6 months, where we're kind of watching you to make sure you're not doing stupid things and or you're a good fit for the company. Okay. So based at this point, don't just be lazy. I know again, more stories about people who come in and show up to work. Don't take an hour and a half lunch breaks. Don't sit there and watch YouTube all day and watch Twitch streams of Call of Duty or Battlefield 6 non-beta. Okay, don't do that. What people do. Don't go in and immediately say, we had some people that the second they reach 8 hours of sick leave, they immediately say, I want a mental health day, and just this Monday I'm not coming to work. And I shit you not, you look at his little employee account, he never had a vacation time or a sick day that went past 8 hours. Every time he got ranked up, he took a day off. And it's very disruptive for the system because we need you that day, but he doesn't care. He literally said, this is my right. When the hours hit 8, I'm taking it off and you can't do anything about it. I'm like, you're right, we can't. Right? It is your right. You could call in sick whenever you want. But don't be surprised when you don't pass your probation because we can't count on you. See, that's a min-max of the system where I'm maximizing the benefits. Like, oh, I want to take a 2-month leave of absence because I can federally. Yes, federally, you could claim you have a medical emergency and take 2.5 months of time off, right? Now, some people do it and they're faking it, and then they just don't want to work that month. Okay, don't be that person. Wait till that year probation goes by. People like you and know you. When they like you, you can start min-maxing the system and they'll tolerate this type of behavior. But don't just do it all. Okay. Somebody asked, okay, but would it count as work if YouTube videos were redstone? Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there are tutorials that help electrical engineering, sure. But we had a dude who sat there and watched Call of Duty videos for 6 hours, and he just alt tab into he would just alt tab to a spreadsheet whenever the manager came by. But stupid to him, he doesn't know that the IT can sit there and track how many hours you're watching Twitch off your computer, bro, right? And the reason why I got caught is because after 6 months, we looked at porn for review. Did you do anything? No. I'm still learning. I'm like, bro, it's been 6 months. You ain't got to learn. You got to man, that hard to learn, right? So we actually caught a couple of interns doom scrolling at work. I don't know, man. I would say you could sit there and doom scroll for like 5 minutes, sure, but we caught one intern doom scrolling for hours, and yeah, we didn't like that. So your choice, buddy. Okay. There's a reason why it's called doom scrolling. So number 3 is move up ranks every 5 years. So basically, this is my take on it. People might disagree with me, but I think you should get a job. So if you're competent in your job and you're doing good engineering work, every 5 years you should move up a rank. So if you're assistant, within 5 years you should be associate. Within another 5 years you should be senior. You have to be moving up. If you're at a company where they refuse to promote you to associate by year 5, they either don't like you or their company structure just doesn't allow it, so they suck, or I don't know, right? But you should get a promotion. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate your career. So if you're at a company and in 5 years go by, you don't get promoted, you should start looking for another company somewhere else. And if you have 5 years as assistant engineer, you can apply to another company as an associate engineer, and they'll most likely let you in as associate. So you'll get that promotion as you switch your job. But don't stay at the same company that will say, I promise you to be associate next year, and then next year, and next year, and there's been 10 years and you haven't been promoted, right? Don't do that. It screws your career over. Okay. What's your opinion about ERDP, Engineering Rotation Development Program? Those are actually really, really good. So if you ever have a company that has rotational programs, you should definitely take it, because when you start, you're going to go between 5 different departments. You get to see a little bit about the whole utility, how it works overall, which is really good. And then after that, you could settle in on which one you like the most. It's obviously better to know how the whole company works, especially if you want to be a manager one day, right? You got to know how the whole company works. So yes, anything that has a rotational program, I would, that's a good positive thing. Okay. All right. So number 4, when you're working, get a professional engineering license as fast as possible. You need 2 years of experience, full-time experience to get it. That does not include internships. Some very rare circumstances it does, but most likely it doesn't. So you're gonna have to graduate, then start working. Make sure your boss or your manager has a PE license and you work under them. Then within 2 years, you can apply for your PE license. You can pass the test and you get it. All this is predicated that you have to take the FE exam. The FE exam is you have to take that now before those 2 years even start to count. Okay. Do all companies do ERDPs, or is it just the big utilities? I think it's just bigger utilities. Like where I work at the small utility, we don't do that because we don't have enough room to move people around. That's a problem, right? If you're like Standing Gas Electric does it, Southern California Edison, Mike, SMUD, I'm sure does it, PG does it. I will say PG&E is probably the most well-known, famous one. So if you could ever get it for PG&E, you'll learn the most. So yes, aim for the PE license. Right now, what you need to do, if you haven't done already, you need to take the FE exam. You should take this your senior year, 100%. So if you're a senior, you haven't taken it, you better go start looking at it now. And the problem with this FE exam is it's basically everything you learn in college. But I'm telling you right now, when you apply to take the exam, you have to take it at Pearson Testing Center, and it's a 6-hour exam. Usually there is a 3-month wait list to even get into a spot within like a 100-mile radius. Okay, just telling you right now, if you want to take the FE exam, let's say if you're graduating this semester, you better do it tonight. Just go and find a slot, hit apply, pay $250, and then start studying. Okay. If you're going to graduate in May, I would start looking at it now and get within your December break, winter break, take it then. Like January the 12th or 10th or something, take it then. Okay, but I'm just telling you right now, you need to secure your slot and pay your fee 3 months in advance because that's how popular it is. Okay. But yes, before you graduate, you need to have this on your resume. Otherwise, you're going to get, if I see you, every engineer that has the FE exam will always trump a engineer that doesn't. Because I know if you have an FE exam, you have a chance to get your PE license. If you don't have an FE exam, I don't even know if you want to be an engineer. I'd have to gamble. Okay. Some companies like San Diego Gas Electric is if you don't get your FE exam in the first year, they straight up fire you 100%. If you don't get your PE license in like 4 or 5 years, they fire you straight up. So just some companies don't play with this. So in general, you should do it. At the 10-year mark, you should decide on going technical or managerial route in company. So you've been a utility, you're a senior engineer, right? So at the 10-year mark, you probably just became a senior engineer. And the way I do career development is I always say, once you get to the position here, immediately start looking for the next position, right? So I just became a senior engineer, yay. And then 6 months later, I got to start thinking, well, what's my next move in 4 or 5 years? Do I want to be a manager or do I want to split off to be a principal engineer? So you don't have to make a decision that day, but you need to start thinking about it to where as a couple years go by, you choose. Once you choose one, you should then start taking your senior engineer career and bending it towards it. So let's say you're going senior engineer right here. You want to go down the manager route, not the technical route. So we're going to go this way. As a senior engineer, you should start shadowing a manager. You should help your manager with any accounting work or project estimation, right? Capital project budgeting, because that's what managers do. So start veering your senior engineering work towards the manager side. That way, at the 15-year mark, you already know how to be a manager. It's not guesswork anymore, and you're a perfect fit into a managerial role. That's the mentoring, that's the grooming part for the next position. But that's what you need to do. You always need to think about 5 years ahead and veer yourself towards it, right? That's how you beat everybody else. And then everybody else complains because, oh, well, Tracy's been, being too nice with his boss and they're buddies. That's why he automatically got the engineering job. Is no, because I've been learning with him and he's been teaching me. That's why I got the engineering job. And you're too antisocial to even go talk to him and ask for the same thing. That's why you didn't get a managerial job. So, I mean, that's the way you have to play the world, man. I don't know what to tell you. Lastly, for career-wise, ask yourself, what's the highest level you want to climb? Do you want to be a senior engineer? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be director, CEO? Obviously, more money is better. We love it. But remember, more money comes more sacrifice. right? The difference between a senior engineer and a director, my boss's boss, a director, he works 60 hours a week. He could work 60 hours a week. His life is stressful because everything happens, it all blows up, he has to fix it all. So the higher up you go, the more work you have to do. CEOs make millions of dollars, and people always crucify them like they're the evil. Why did they get $1 million? You got to remember, most CEOs work 80 to 100 hours a week. They sacrifice their kids, sacrifice their marital life. They get divorced because of this stuff. I mean, it's some people have to devote their entire life to their work, and that's the only way to survive at the upper management level. So you got to ask yourself, is working 80 hours a week worth $500,000? I can't, only you can answer that, right? You ask yourself deep down inside where you want to be. And as you get to that point, is this enough? Is 200K enough as a senior engineer, or do I need to make 350K? Am I willing to sacrifice my life for 350K? Then once you get to that point, do I need to sacrifice even more to get to 600K or 500K? Only you can answer that at that point in time. Okay. Oh, I concur. FE exam is brutal. A lot of nerve and basically 3 hours of testing per segment. Yes, yeah, FE exam's tough. I ain't gonna lie, right? And I'll tell you this, my boss will tell you, you have to take it in college. If you wait to take it later on in life, you're going to forget everything you learn in college, and you're going to be screwed because you're going to relearn all your engineering work all over again, and it's going to really, really, really suck. So that's my boss's words to you.